The courtroom fell into a dead silence. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the room itself was holding its breath. Everyone knew that today would be different. This wasn't going to be your typical trial. And sitting at the head of the courtroom, Judge Boyd could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. Today, justice wasn't just going to be served, it was going to be delivered with force. In the defendant's seat sat two individuals who thought they could manipulate the system, twist the truth, and walk away scot-free. But what they didn't realize was that they were up against someone who wasn't afraid to call out the wildest of fools. This wasn't going to be easy for them. Not today. The first defendant, a man who looked like he belonged on the cover of a magazine, adjusted his tie and shot a smug smile at the jury. He had it all planned. His lawyer would work their magic, and he'd be out of this courtroom with a slap on the wrist. But he wasn't prepared for Judge Boyd's eyes, sharp, unwavering, and unforgiving. The second defendant, a woman whose defiance was almost palpable, crossed her arms and leaned back in her chair. Her expression was one of cocky confidence, like she was untouchable. Like the law didn't apply to her? But today that would change. Judge Boyd's gavel slammed down, cutting through the room like thunder. "Let's make one thing clear," he said, his voice ringing with authority. "You are not here to play games. You are here because of choices you made. And now you will face the consequences." The first defendant's lawyer stood up, trying to introduce the case with a rehearsed speech. "Your Honor, my client has contributed greatly to the community. Double quote. His voice trailed off as Judge Boyd raised a hand, silencing him instantly. "Contributed? We are not here to discuss his community service. We are here to discuss his crimes," Judge Boyd replied, his voice cold and final. The courtroom was so still that you could hear the hum of the air conditioning. The lawyer stammered for a moment, but it was clear Judge Boyd wasn't interested in any of the theatrics. "Get to the facts," the judge commanded, his tone sharp. The defense attorney tried again, weaving a story about the man's troubled past and how his actions were misunderstood. But Judge Boyd wasn't swayed. "I don't need to hear a sob story. This is not a charity event. This is a court of law. And here we follow the rules." His words were like a slap, leaving the defense attorney stunned into silence. The woman in the defendant's seat barely flinched at the exchange. She leaned forward, her eyes burning with determination. "I had no choice," she said, her voice quivering. "I did what I had to do to survive." Judge Boyd stared at her for a moment. "Survive?" he repeated, a cold smile crossing his face. "You chose your actions. You didn't have to break the law. No one forced you." The woman's confidence wavered, but she quickly regained her composure. The defense lawyer tried to speak, but Judge Boyd wasn't having it. "I am done with excuses," he declared, his voice low but powerful. "Now, let's see what the evidence has to say." The prosecutor stood, a quiet strength emanating from him as he began presenting the case. The room grew tense as he laid out the facts clear, indisputable, damning. Every word he spoke seemed to tighten the noose around the defendants. The jury listened closely, their faces unreadable, but their eyes were sharp. They were seeing what the defendants had tried so hard to conceal. The first defendant fidgeted in his seat, his earlier confidence crumbling. He had underestimated the gravity of the situation. His plans to escape this trial had been shattered in an instant. Judge Boyd's gaze never wavered as he took in the evidence. It was clear the defendants were guilty. The room could feel it. The prosecutor's words were like a nail in their coffin. There was no room for doubt anymore. "Your Honor," the first defendant's lawyer stammered, trying one last time to create doubt in the case, "we request that you show mercy. Our client has done so much good in the past." Judge Boyd's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Mercy? Mercy is for those who deserve it. You can't buy mercy with past deeds. You earn it by making the right choices. Your client has not earned mercy." The courtroom was silent as the gravity of Judge Boyd's words settled in. The first defendant's smug expression faded completely. The second defendant's defiance flickered in her eyes, replaced by something deeper, a realization that she was no longer in control. She had underestimated the power of justice. They both had. If you're on the edge of your seat right now, just wait. The twist is coming. But before we continue, hit that like button if you're enjoying this intense courtroom drama. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future videos. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's next. As the trial moved into its final stages, the tension was almost unbearable. The defendant's defense attorneys were scrambling to find any angle they could use. The room was thick with the smell of desperation. The prosecutor, however, was calm, his arguments tight and unbreakable. Judge Boyd's gaze never faltered. He had seen it all before: manipulative defendants, slick lawyers, and endless attempts to twist the law. But today, he wasn't going to let any of it slide. The jury's deliberation took longer than expected. They were as gripped by the tension as everyone else. It was clear that they understood the weight of the decision they had to make. This wasn't just about justice, it was about sending a message. A message that the law was not something to be taken lightly. The jury returned, their faces grim. The foreman stood, holding the verdict in his hands. The courtroom was silent, the kind of silence that only comes before something monumental. "We, the jury, find the defendants guilty on all charges," the foreman read, his voice echoing in the now still room. Judge Boyd's expression remained unchanged. He had expected this, and the law demanded it. But even he could feel the weight of the verdict. This was justice being served. And yet there was something else in the air, a sense of finality, of closure. The defendants' faces went pale. The first defendant looked as though he had been struck by lightning. The second defendant, once so defiant, now looked small. She sat back in her chair, staring at the floor, knowing that the walls had finally closed in on her. Judge Boyd stood, his gavel raised high. "The law has spoken," he said, his voice unwavering. "And today it has delivered justice. You will face the consequences of your choices." As the sentencing began, the room grew heavy with anticipation. The defendants knew it was over. There would be no last-minute miracles, no way to escape the consequences of their actions. The law was final, and there was nothing they could do now. If you were as captivated by this trial as we were, don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for more courtroom dramas where justice always prevails. What do you think about Judge Boyd's handling of this case? Do you think the defendants got what they deserved? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, justice may take time, but it always finds its way. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat.